It's 8:08 at KNEB. Time for news, and here's Kevin Mooney.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Good morning, everyone. And our special guest on this 8 o'clock news hour is Senator Deb Fischer. She's here for a listening session later on this morning. Where are you going this morning?
I'm going to be at the listening session and also up at the hospital to visit with some folks about medical care and providers and what they need, kind of help that they want to see coming out from Washington. On, I think a lot of it will do with regulations.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure with the hospital to do with regulations. So let's talk about some positive things first before we go into anything Iran or any of those things. You've been working on a couple of things regarding transportation that I think people really need to know about. First of all, this federal payback program to the states and the local communities, and you were also instrumental in getting a long-term transportation bill passed in the Senate, right?
I was, and it was nice to see it happen.
Yeah.
The first issue talked about that federal buyback program. I did that when I was in the Nebraska legislature. That was one of those smaller bills, I guess, that didn't get much attention at the time, but our cities and counties have really taken advantage of it, where they can exchange those federal dollars with the Department of Roads and be able to move projects ahead because it lessens some of the regulations that they have to go through. So they're getting projects done. A lot of it has to do with bridge maintenance, replacement. So it's one of those programs, when you get it passed, you think this is going to be a really good deal for people in Nebraska. So it's nice to see that it worked out that way, and it's being used in a proper way, and people are benefiting. We also did pass in the Senate that 6-year highway bill, and I worked hard on that. I was co-sponsor of the bill that came out of Commerce Committee. I'm also on Environment and Public Works Committee, which has the main responsibility for the reauthorization, and we were able to get some amendments in that bill, some things in that bill that's going to help the Nebraska Department of Roads streamline their regulation process. You know, it's these regulations that tie things up and cost us money. So that'll be a good bill, and it'll be a great bill for the state, for cities, for counties, so they have certainty and have that long-term highway funding that they know is going to be there.
Yeah, and that's something we've been just going on extensions for a long time. We used to do this all the time, and it's kind of not been the way it's been for a while. So now the House will pick this up, and hopefully you're thinking later on this fall the two sides will kind of mesh what they pass, and we'll actually have something.
Right, I hope so. You know, there's been what's called those short-term extension, those patches. I think it's 30-some since 2009. That's just crazy. Government shouldn't be operating that way. So I was pleased to see that the Senate did pass that 6-year bill. It's my understanding the House, the chairman of the committee in the House is working on a long-term bill, and that the House will come back, take that up in September. I'm hopeful they're going to pass their version of it, and then Senate and the House will get together, and hopefully by the end of October we're gonna get our work done and have a long-term highway bill.
All right, very good. Obviously, the vote on Iran is coming up. You've mentioned that you're going to vote no on this. Kind of explain why you're going to vote no. And one of the questions is this what the president has agreed to? Is this really a treaty where you guys, how would you explain what he did here?
Well, first, it's a bad deal. Yeah. And that's what it is. It's a deal. It's an agreement. It is not a treaty. The administration was moving forward on their own. They weren't including Congress. They were not briefing Congress on it at all. So members of the Democrat and the Republican Party said that shouldn't be. Congress needs a say in this, and that's when the Corker bill in the Senate was passed a couple months ago. And that's the only way, with the passage of that bill, that Congress was able to be briefed on the treaty, not the treaty, the agreement, to be briefed on that, and now we'll have a vote on disapproval. I do disapprove of this agreement. It is a bad deal for a number of reasons. The most glaring one just came out recently in an Associated Press story, where the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, they will not be able to inspect a site at Parchin. They are going to let the Iranians do the inspection and then provide them with the material that they need to make a decision. That's just crazy. That's never happened before. You don't let the country you're inspecting do the inspection. You especially don't do that with a country that's a bad actor. That's the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. You don't do that with a country that cannot be trusted, that everyone, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whether you're in Congress or the administration, everyone says that the Iranians cannot be trusted. Yet this agreement is based on trust. I think, I can go, we don't have time, but I can go through this, point by point. I've been, as a member of the Armed Services Committee, we've had public hearings, we've had classified briefings. I have read the agreement. You go through it layer by layer, and there really isn't anything in there that benefits the people of the United States. And it's really harmful for our country. A big part of that deals with lifting the arms embargo and lifting the embargo on ballistic missile technology. The Iranians will be able to have that ballistic missile technology in 8 years. Those are ICBM, folks. Those are intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach the United States.
Yeah. So if Congress says no to this, does that impact what happened? Does the president have to go back to, it's my understanding, thing still goes through, or does he have to go back to Iran and negotiate it again?
Well, I hope he goes back. And I believe if Congress says no, that will give the president more credibility to go back. He'll be able to say that the people of the United States don't agree with this deal that we made. It will give him the opportunity to be a leader, to bring our allies along and say, we need to work for something that's going to help our countries more, that are going to make our countries more secure. So I think he would be able to go back to the negotiating table saying Congress is with me on this, that we need to have a stronger agreement.
Okay. A couple other things real quick. There's going to be a hearing in North Dakota in regards to the U.S. Waters Rule here today. Also have the Clean Power Act that was introduced by the president. A lot of things with EPA. What's your feelings about what's going on with EPA here recently?
Well, the committee that I'm on, the Environment and Public Works, we have jurisdiction over the EPA. I had a Senate hearing in Lincoln in March on waters of the U.S., and we had a great panel there. We had a county commissioner from Douglas County who pointed out that these new regulations would cost taxpayers more money. When a county's doing road maintenance, road repair, road building, they're going to have to meet all sorts of new regulations now. That costs all of us more money. A home builder spoke at that hearing. He said 25% of the cost of a new home right now is due to regulations, and you put these new ones on top of it, that increases the cost even more. We're putting an American dream of owning your own home out of reach for most of us. That's not what government should be doing. And then you look at the Clean Power Plan. Nebraska is hit especially hard because we're a 100% public power state. We own the coal-fired electric plants. We own our power in this state. If you just close a plant down, we still have to pay the debt on that plant. We pay more for the electricity that we use as consumers when we turn the lights on in our house, and we pay more for goods and services that we buy from businesses. This Clean Power Plan hits Nebraskans especially hard. The proposed rules were saying that Nebraska would probably have to reduce emissions by 26%. The final ones, it looks like that Nebraska has to reduce emissions by 40%. That is going to be very, very hard to do, and it's only going to burden our families.
Okay. Real quick, what do you think about Donald Trump, presidential candidate?
I think Donald Trump has tapped into frustration that's felt by the American people. And we see it on the Republican side with Donald Trump, but we also see it on the Democrat side with Bernie Sanders. he's getting 25, 30,000 people filling stadiums, seeing him as well. And I know Senator Sanders represents a faction of the Democrat Party that wants to pull the party further left. He's a socialist. He's in the Senate. I know Bernie Sanders. He always says he's a socialist, and he's pulling his party that way. Donald Trump is tapping into that frustration on the other end of the spectrum. I think all of us should pay attention to that. People want to see. I think they want to see us work together and get things accomplished, and that's what I'm doing in the Senate and what I'll continue to do. I'm going to focus on policies that benefit Nebraskans, that help our families, that make life more secure. That's what it's about.
All right. Thank you very much, Senator, for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you.